All right, so today we're gonna talk about cast nets, okay? Different types of cast nets that we use to catch inshore and some offshore species. Bait, especially for those species. Now, you do use them to catch shrimp and other eatable species, but for the most part, we use cast nets to catch bait, to catch inshore fish and some offshore fish. So first we're gonna talk what kind of cast net you need for what you're doing, okay? And it's pretty simple, but kind of hard to find somewhere it's laid out for you. There's two different ways you can catch bait, okay? We can catch it on the shallows or we can catch it in the deep. And when we're talking deep, we're gonna talk 8 foot plus, 6 foot plus. And then we're talking shallows, we're talking that 6 to 2 foot range grass flats type of bait. When you are throwing on the grass flats in 6 feet or less, there is no reason to throw a very heavy weighted cast net. The reason for throwing the weight is to get it down fast to cover up the bait. When you're in the shallows, the bait is kind of trapped. It doesn't have anywhere to go. So when I'm throwing in the flats, I'm gonna throw a 1.2 weight, okay, when I get my cast net. I throw a 12-foot cast net. If you're shorter, it gets harder to throw those bigger nets, but a lot of people throw the 12 and 14s. 12 is a lot of work, especially when they get heavy. So we're fishing grass flats. I'm gonna throw a 1.2, and I'm gonna throw a 1/4 inch mesh size, right? That's where they kind of start, is in 1/4 inch. And what the 1/4 inch allows it to do is, one, small bait can get caught in it when it's a smaller net size. Two, the bigger the hole in the mesh, the quicker it can fall, and the less water pressure puts on the fish, and he doesn't feel that displacement and try and move out the way. So grass flats, 1.2, 12 foot, 1/4 inch mesh size, okay? Now, when it comes to throwing, let's talk about throwing in 8 feet or more, okay? And when you're gonna throw in 8 feet or more, it's gonna be one of a couple things, but let's go with the main ones. It's either gonna be you're throwing in the jetties, you see bait on a machine, you're throwing over the top of it, you see these pods of bait on your machine, and you're gonna throw over the top of them. Or you're throwing on a bridge, in which you're either seeing the bait or you're chumming the bait up to the surface and seeing it there, okay? In those situations, my go-to is gonna be a 3/8 1.6, okay? And I've never had this happen before, but I have been told about it many a times. They call it a Christmas tree. And a Christmas tree is when you're on small bait and you throw a 3/8 ounce net. I mean, a 3/8 mesh size net. It will look like a Christmas tree with all the gills stuck out of it, and it is an absolute mess to clean out. So if you're on small bait or you're at small bait time of the year, then you're gonna wanna throw a 1/4 inch 2.0, not a 1.6, okay? And that's the weight, you know, the weight, heaviness of the weight of the net. The 3/8 is ideally better to fall faster and not put displacement on the fish. At a 1.6, you don't have to throw as much weight, but if you get on small bait and you're fishing deeper water, you're gonna have to grab that extra weight, throw that bigger net, and use that weight to get that 1/4 inch down. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a little small recap on all that, make it real simple for you. If you're throwing on the grass flats, 1/4 inch, 1.2, 1.6 if you need it, if you want the extra weight. And if you're throwing in the deeps, which is 8 feet or more deeper water, you're gonna wanna do a 1.6 3/8 or a 2.0 1/4 inch. Okay, so now let's talk about the process of catching bait, okay? The process that I like to go through. First, I'm gonna use Fish Food Chum by Purina. That's what I use. I buy a 55 or 50 pound bag of it. Looks like dog food. And that's what I use as my chum to chum up bait fish. They sell it in small portions and stuff at your local tackle shops, stuff like that. Most of the time, if you want to buy a big bag, you got to go to a feed store or order it online on Amazon or something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix it up in a concentrate, and I'm going to take a little bucket of it, and I'm going to put a little water into it, okay? And I'm going to get it to like a a pasty consistency. Not wet, but not dry, okay? And what I like to do is I like to ball it up, okay? When I first start, I'll ball it up really good, tight balls, and throw out a couple of those. And those will kind of go to the deeps and kind of bring those bait fish up to the surface. Once I get them up to the surface, I'm gonna try and sprinkle on top, sprinkle on top. As I'm loading my net, I'm going to stop every once in a while as I'm loading it and sprinkle a little more on top. Make sure I get one last shot on them and get them nice and, you know, fed up before I go throw that net on top of them. Now, I use the triple load method of throwing a cast net. I haven't been throwing one a long time. I grew up in Louisiana, and we just don't throw it a lot. We use a lot of shrimp, but we don't throw a lot of bait fish. Fishing in Florida a lot now, and all over the coast, you have to match the hatch a lot of times, so I had to learn how to throw a cast net. The triple load method was the easiest for me to learn, and we have a video in a description below. You'll have a video down there where you can watch the step-by-step of how to make the triple load method, okay? And that's one way that I will bait up bait. And I'll do that on the flats, or I'll do that in the deeps on the pilings and stuff like that and pull them off of the pilings. A lot of times they're up underneath there and you can kind of pull them out to where you can get a net and throw it on top of them. The other way is to literally go on your machine, okay? And I will literally ride on my machine and I will see these big red globs, okay? They're big orange red globs that'll go, you know, 10, 20 feet deep sometimes. Those are bait pods. Those aren't actually fish, they're actually bait pods. And those bait pods, I'm literally gonna drift over it, mark it. Sometimes I don't even mark it. Sometimes I just hurry up and make my U-turn on it, get on the top side of the current, toss my net over the top of it, and see what I end up coming up with. The main thing I want to tell you when you start doing that kind of stuff, one, make sure you got a good sounder. You know, you want a good, reliable sounder. I run Simrads. The Evo 3s are great units. The other thing you want to do is make sure that net sinks to the bottom. Give it time. Do not force that net back up quickly and close it quickly. Let it sink. As much rope as you have, let it down. And when you go close as fast as you can, a couple times, quick jerks, close it up to get that net as close as possible, those weights around the bottom to lock that bait in before it comes into the boat. So one of the ways to catch bait here in Tampa is, especially when it's windy because we can't go on the bridges, is to come up on the flats and throw, it's fish food, okay? Throwing fish food at them, and just gonna kind of chum them up on these grass flats, feed them up, get this slick made up, and then we're gonna toss the net on and see what we got and make our adjustments from there. One tip I'll give you is if you take it and you clump it up, okay, and throw that out when you're first starting, that'll bring it to the bottom and kind of hold it there for a minute and get them there. And then right before I get ready to throw the net, I'm gonna sprinkle the surface to bring them up to the surface to get them to be right up underneath the net and throw right on top of it. If you run across a day you don't catch bait, you got a couple options, okay? One, you can go dead bait, you can go shrimp, you know, dead shrimp, cut pogies, stuff like that, and try. A lot of times that'll work in the winter time. But in the summertime, if you don't catch bait, you're at a really huge disadvantage when it comes to fishing. You know, the live bait becomes very critical in the summer months. So I suggest that you get to know, what I've done is where I like to fish, I've got to know there's bait guys. There's guys that sell bait. A lot of them have Instagram accounts, or they have these little bait boats set up right outside the marinas. And sometimes the marinas sell it, but a lot of times when it comes to this style of bait or crab or different things like that, there is a bait guy in your area. Get to know that guy. That guy can save your day of fishing, which I have had happen many a times where I try and catch bait, can't catch the right baits, only big baits or something, call up the bait guy, go pull up over there, get a bucket or two of bait, and I'm back fishing. You know, I always try and catch my bait, but sometimes it just does not happen. And you'd rather have that as a backup than to just go without bait, you know, and rough the day, because, you know, bait is half the game when it comes to fishing, especially in your summer months. I hope this video on the rundown of how to use a cast net and when to use a cast net and what kind of cast net to use helps you catch more bait fish to, in end result, catch more inshore fish. You know, snook, redfish, speckled trout, grouper, anything that you can catch on the inside. I hope it helps you. If you have any other questions or any comments or anything that you'd like to add to it, put it down below for us. We're always trying to make new videos and update our content. We don't know everything about fishing, okay? Me and everybody else I work with, we're always learning. We're always trying to get more information. So if you know anything or can give us any more insight to what we're doing, we're more than happy to take in that information and grow on it and add it to our arsenal of tips and stuff that we can give you on how to catch more fish, to take that time that it would spend for you on the water to learn all that out by watching our videos. Like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you turn on notifications, and I hope to see y'all out on the water soon.